Hello everybody, Chris here, and in this video I'm going to be showing you how to do a daytime to nighttime conversion inside of Photoshop. So this will be the end result, and this is what we're starting with. So clearly it's the day here, and we change it into night by applying a few filters and adding in some stars in the night sky. So the first thing I'm going to do is go over here to the adjustments window, and I'm going to add in brightness/contrast as an adjustment layer. And we're going to lower the brightness way down. I have it at about 106 in the other photo, so it's a good starting place for the rest of our filters. Next, we're going to add in a levels adjustment layer, and rather than just have a full mask that applies to everything on the screen, I'm actually going to come over here to the gradients tool, and we're going to do a white to black gradient, so make sure that's your foreground and background colors here. And we're going to apply the gradient, basically from the top towards the bottom, so that when we adjust the lighting in this image, it's mostly going to be affecting up here at the top, because as you can see, the sky is way too bright. It's clearly still day. And we need to lower that down. But we don't want to remove too much lighting from the car, because we still want to be able to see that. So click on the levels adjustment over here in the layers, and I'm going to take the levels here, and I'm just going to drag it over to the right. So about 0.45 looks good there. Basically taking these colors and making them a little bit darker. You may also find that you want to reapply the gradient starting in endpoints to get a little bit more of the background to be affected there, so I'll make it roughly... So I'll make the white area roughly 50-60% of the image as it gets down there towards the bottom. Next, I'm going to add in a channel mixer, and I'm going to leave this output channel defaulting as red. But I'm actually going to lower the red down to about 65 or 60. And on top of that, to kind of counteract how much blue there is now, we're going to add in a photo filter, and I'm going to set that to red, which brings our overall color a lot more into a grayish blue that we might see in the night. Now lastly, we're going to need some stars, so I'm going to create a new layer here, and I'm going to pull this image from my desktop into here, which is just a star background that we can use. I'll stretch the image as much as you think you need. Hit OK, and with that, we're going to want to make sure that it doesn't completely override the image behind it, so we need to apply a blending filter. So right-click and go to Blending Options, and where it says Blend If Gray, you're going to want to pull the left-hand endpoint over so that whatever's black, basically the empty space, is not going to show up in the final image. Also, these stars are showing too fully, especially with this amount of light still out. You would not be able to see the stars that well, so I'm going to lower the fill opacity down quite a bit. So that the stars are more faded in the background. And now I want to cut all the stars that would be impossible to see here underneath the skyline out. So I'm going to use the lasso tool, and I'm just going to kind of roughly draw a line somewhere above the skyline here, go down to the bottom, the left, and the top. And with all this area, I'm just going to hit delete. Okay, first we apparently need to rasterize the layer, so I'm going to right-click rasterize layer, and now we're going to hit delete on that. So there's no stars where there shouldn't be stars. To further make the image more gray rather than blue, we also want to take the photo filter and increase the density of the red filter. So if we put that up to about 65-70%, it's going to look a lot more of a natural night. Also, if we want to take this top area where we have the levels layer adjusted and make it even darker, we can take the left side of the levels and move that over. Then if we want to take this blue area, we can also adjust that further. Kind of as far as you want to go with this. You could choose to go all the way and make it like a pitch black night, but that seems a bit overkill for what the original image was going for. So when you get your brightness and your levels adjusted to pretty much exactly where you want it to be, you'll be able to call it good. So obviously the colors of the car are really faded from here, and you can't really tell much about this guy down here. So if you want, you can also go into the layer mask for the brightness contrast, and make it so that that brightness decrease doesn't affect down here as much as well. So I'm going to drag a gradient down just like we did for the levels layer. And by doing that, we can brighten up the area down here. But obviously that looks a little bit ridiculous. You can tell that the lighting is really unnatural there. So I'm going to decrease the intensity of that by lowering the density of the layer mask way, way, way down. And with all those changes, I'd say we've successfully turned a daytime image into nighttime. You can play around with it a little bit more to get the settings exactly how you like them. But let's just show a before-after here. So there's before, obviously in the morning, and we apply these filters, and we get something of a nighttime image. So I've been Chris, I hope you found this tutorial useful, and I will see you guys in my future Photoshop content.